Hi, my name is Mercy and welcome back to the channel. I want us to have a conversation that I have been having with myself for a few months now. So this video is being recorded in 2023. So we remember very well that 2020, we had the pandemic plus the Black Lives Matter. Before that, we had the Me Too movement. Before that, so basically, quite a lot of changes have been happening to social norms. I'm putting the norms in huge quotes because it depends on where you are. It's not everything is considered normal everywhere, but anyway. So, by the way, I'm still on my makeup free vacation, so I'm spending my entire vacation with zero makeup for my face to rest. But anyway, so here we go. And one thing that has been bothering me through all this thing was um maybe I'm not correct in my analysis of this, but one thing I was wondering is we do tell people they're a victim and we explain to them how they're a victim, but then do we empower them out of the victimhood or do we leave them to continue living in their victimhood? And I've been feeling like that's what's been happening. I've been feeling like people are being made to stay victims and to continue thinking that they're victims. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just the way I'm understanding it, but I'm not seeing any positive ways that people are being encouraged to, like go out of it, like how to get out of how to survive it, basically. Is that the right word? I don't know. Anyway, how to stop being, how to not continue staying in the victim mentality. And yeah, so I've been feeling like that is something that's missing in the whole empowerment struggle, the fact that we are not really being shown how to get to the other side. One of the things that I think, one of the dangers that I had felt was quite a big risk actually happened recently. So, for those who've not been following this news, because apparently it's big news in the US, it's big news to quite a few people. I think I've bumped on it from a friend's timeline on Facebook, and then I started being spammed by updates, and I was also very obsessed with it. So there's this lady, Kali, and she faked her kidnapping. So basically she called the police, told the police she had seen a child on the road and she was running out of this road, and she was driving following this child or something like that. I don't even remember the story now how it started because it has had so many twists and turns until now it's confusing. Anyway, basically she was assumed kidnapped, and you had so many people in panic, so many people wanting to see her, to find her, and she's an African American. And I think people, I mean, even people who had doubts did not want to say the doubts, because if you mention it, then you would have, well, they were actually blasted. I know a few people who asked a few questions like, this doesn't make sense, can somebody explain that? And they were just, oh, you're racist, oh, you're racist, you're racist. And I was like, okay, fine, nobody's going to ask any questions. um and then it turns out that when she showed up, then when people started questioning how this happened, it was, oh, you're racist, you're racist, you're racist. And then it was, okay, now she's confessed, things just started coming out. And then it was now overwhelming. And finally, she confessed that it was, no, it was all a lie. So, what does this have to do with what I'm thinking that the victim mentality and lack of empowerment has done? I think this girl, from what I gather, as at now, as at today, when I'm recording this, when I'm posting it, things might have changed. What I gather is that she did this for attention. Her boyfriend was cheating on her or something like that, and she wanted attention and stuff like that. My take is this girl has been consuming the media that has been telling her that when black women go missing, um, nothing is done about it. It will not be, there will be no umbrellas, nothing will be done. And maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I don't know. And yeah, so maybe that's what she's been consuming. So when she was planning this, she thought, okay, what the worst case scenario? I will call the police, and then they will sweep it under the rug because black women are never looked for. And then this guy is going to be worried about me. And then after 3 days, I will show up and it will be fine. And then turns out the police department is very conscious about what people think, and they're very in touch with the community spirit at the moment, and they really did take this seriously, and every resource was put into it. The FBI, the whatever, everybody was just dumped in there to look for her. I don't think she expected that. I do not think in her entire planning of what would happen, I don't think she expected that she would be taken so seriously that this would actually become national news. So the thing that she had believed, because she was told you are not going to be taken seriously, ended up being the thing that actually put her in trouble. Because if it would not have blown up so much, if she would have actually just been ignored the way she probably believed that she was going to be ignored, worst case scenario, her family would have known, a few friends, maybe church members, and then it would have blown over. But now, short of her changing her name, I don't really see this woman ever having a life that where she's not judged by this one extremely dumb decision that she made. I feel like we tell people something, and when you're starting something, when you're starting a change, I feel like you owe it to the person that you're trying to help to make sure that you ensure that the change actually happens. Because if this girl had even thought that maybe, okay, there has been all this noise about, I mean, I'm not even going to talk about the fact that I think it's really dumb what she did, waste of resources. She really genuinely should pay a huge fine and everything. Personally, I had questions from the beginning. My main question, okay, first I was worried, and then I sat down with another fellow African, and and she had a very weird take on it. But for me, my question was, oh, okay, fine, I understand there can be a kid, but if you're talking to, maybe from watching too many movies. So I was with my friend, and I mean, for me, it was the child who's, from watching too many movies, probably. You call 911, they ask you questions, where are you? Da, 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 da. It's quite a phone call. So I was like, is she still following this child? How far is this child walking? How fast is this child walking? Because also, there's a speed limit, so you can't be going at really, really slowly. And I just found it weird. Okay, but then I was like, well, this is me who's failed my driving test a million times, so maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. And then another friend of mine came up with the theory that no, there was no child, she was seeing things. And I'm like, okay. And she is very anti-abortion, this friend, and she was like, this is what happens when people have had abortions. I'm like, where did that come from? She said, oh, you don't know, these women nowadays, girls have abortions every day, the baby is haunting her, so maybe she's seeing the ghost of the baby everywhere. And that was her theory, and she decided she was staying with that theory. But anyway, it was so weird. But both ways, I just felt like, okay, maybe there's a mental health component to it, and maybe she's seeing things, and there's so many weird drugs in the market now. Maybe she went somewhere and somebody drugged her, or students, because they said she's a nursing student. Maybe students take a lot of weird things to stay awake nowadays. They take medications that have been prescribed for ADHD and stuff like that, and then they're taking them to help them with focusing, and then they, you never know what side effects it's going to have. So in my mind, I had already decided that I don't think this is what's happening. I don't think there was really a baby, but I think that this girl had like a breakdown and stuff like that. Part of the reason why I believe that was because the hair, the wig. I mean, from her videos, you can tell she wears very good quality, expensive wigs. And when they said that her wig was found there, I was like, no woman in her right mind, the way these things are expensive and hard to find, is just dropping it there, not know, unless, something, either she was really kidnapped, or, but something must have happened. I just didn't believe that this was just someone who, for me, her just running away was not an option. Her just planning this and faking it was not an option. What was an option was either she was seeing things based on drugs, mental illness, or something, or it actually did happen and there really was a baby. So, but her faking it was not really, because I did not see where it was going. Anyway, so all this to say that when people start thinking that that nobody is listening to you and you've raised your concern, assume that the other person has listened, because you might be surprised that about the actions that will happen. You might be somebody might be growing but you don't know that they're growing. I'm sure if this would have happened, I'm assuming if this would have happened a few years ago, like 2017 for example, it wouldn't have gotten far, because apparently that was a thing, that black women who disappeared were just not given as much media attention. But then people have talked about it, there have been activism about it, and quite a lot of police departments across the US are paying attention to how it will look, and they're very sensitive to how they will look in the media if somebody, because her boyfriend went online and just put it online. I'm sure even if they were planning to ignore it, they wouldn't do that because of the backlash that would come if her body shows up 4 days later and they hadn't done anything about it. So I think we need to realize that sometimes when you are empowering somebody, also teach them what to do with the empowerment that you have given them. Because if you make somebody stay and continue, first you've told them they're victims. They didn't even notice they were victims, because half the time, by the way, somebody's a victim and they don't even know they're victims. I know this because when you talk to people sometimes and they're like, nah, you're not really empowering me, you're not really doing anything for me because I'm not suffering. You're the one who's seeing these things. Half the time you're seeing things that other people, that the person who is actually living the experience is not seeing. And I just hope that this becomes a lesson to those who are doing like the women empowerment, all this. Because I feel the same thing happened with feminism. Women were empowered, but then you left behind the boys. So you empowered the girl and did not empower the boy to deal with this empowered girl. But that's a whole other video. And so now you have a disconnect where you have all these empowered women who are frustrated because these unempowered boys are the ones that they're supposed to end up marrying, and it's just, that is another video. Anyway, so thank you for listening to this, and I just hope that whatever the outcome of this mess is going to be, that something good comes out of it.